birthday, Daniel. How old are you today?
I'm 3 years old.
Robin.
Don't.
Please.
Don't. I'm here. That's enough. I don't even know what to say. Daniel's friends aren't allowed to play with him anymore. Everyone's avoiding us. They think I knew. I'm an outcast, Phil. Do you see what you've done to me? To Daniel?
Robin, I'm sorry.
You're sorry? What am I supposed to do?
I haven't had my trial yet. There's still a chance.
What? That you're innocent? Is that all this is, Phil? Innocent or guilty? What about us? We trusted you!
Robin.
How am I supposed to raise a toddler by myself? He's been asking about you. I haven't figured out what to tell him yet.
Tell him that his father loves him very much.
I'm not sure I can do that. Not with you in here. I won't be at your trial, Phil. I wanted to tell you that. Goodbye.
Robin. Robin, wait. Please come back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?
Richard.
And he will answer them, truly, I tell you, just as you did this for the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it for me. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
It's now time for announcements. Richard.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone about our annual cook-off. We still need to fill a couple of spots for the potluck, though you've got some pretty tough competition with Marianne's empanadas. No, but seriously, it goes to a great cause. $20 for the potluck, bragging rights if you win, but more importantly, a school in Uganda gets supplies for a year. We hope to see you out.
Thank you, Richard. Well, if that's all for announcements, go in peace.
So...
Texting in church.
I didn't text.
You had your phone out.
What am I supposed to do? It's my clients who are the Sabbath dishonorers.
Save it. Can you pick up the kids from Sunday school? I have to talk to Carrie about the potluck. Richard.
Sure.
Excuse me? I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about the potluck.
For sure. It's a fundraiser for a school we sponsor in Uganda.
And you have to pay?
Well, it is a fundraiser.
Right. Thank you.
Are you visiting?
No. I've been coming here about a month now.
Really? Oh, I'm surprised I haven't bumped into you yet.
My son and I normally leave after the service, the bus.
I'm Richard.
Robin.
You should really check out the potluck. In this church, it's the cooking that brings people to God. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pastor Martin's is great, but...
I'll think about it.
It's only $20. If the money's the problem, I'd be happy to help.
No, you don't need to do that. Thank you, though. I should really go get my son.
Is he in Sunday school?
Yeah.
Then take your time. I'm leaving my little terrors locked up in there as long as I can.
You have kids?
Yeah. Here's some pictures. This is Julie, 7, and this is Steven. He's 5.
Daniel just turned 6. I'm sorry, but if I don't leave now, I'm gonna have to cab.
Cab? Where do you live?
Just off of Eastbrook?
Why don't we give you a ride?
No, that's fine.
No, it'll be good. We'll put the old minivan to the test.
It's all right, really.
It's not a problem. I'll just have to check with my wife.
Richard.
And there she is now.
Where are the kids?
They're in Sunday school. They're with Miss Preston. They're fine. Marianne, this is Robin.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you.
Robin's thinking about checking out the potluck.
Oh, I don't know. if
Oh,
we'll
you
be-
have to. The food here is great.
So I hear.
Her son's in Sunday school with Stephen and Julie.
So you do remember our children.
Robin and her son are going to cab out to Eastbrook.
What? Eastbrook? That would cost a fortune.
You think we could give them a lift?
Of course. Is it just you and your son?
Yes, but
It's no problem. I'll go pull up the van.
Richard?
What?
The kids?
I thought I was getting the van.
He's just scared of facing Miss Preston. Last week, Julie emptied an entire bottle of glitter glue into Stephen's hair.
Well, looking forward, if I was given parole, I might get back into wine. Collecting it, I mean. I've read a lot about it, the whole culture of it. At one point, I considered myself a bit of a connoisseur. See, what really intrigues me is the process. You need a good vine to produce a good grape. The conditions have to be perfect. The soil, the weather, the depth of the roots. And even after that, there's so much that can go wrong. You mess up the temperature, the yeast, anything. It's like at any given stage, everything is working against you. I've never tried making the stuff myself. I'd mess it up for sure. I mean, look at me. I rehearsed what I was going to say today, word for word, and now I'm going on about wine. I can't even get this right. But there are people out there that make good wine. That's incredible. Because, at least from my standpoint, you have to be perfect. And with my track record, that would be very difficult.
Richard, my understanding of effective waste management was that you got rid of the stuff I don't need.
Darren, I take full responsibility for the missed pickups. It won't happen again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, it won't. Richard, you're acting like I owe you some sort of grace here.
Look, LockTech Securities has been with us since the beginning. You're one of our most loyal customers, and we've always rewarded that with a significantly discounted price.
Save the pitch, Richard. Yes, you gave me a discount. I helped your family after the break-in, but this is business.
Marianne really appreciates the security system, Darren. We all feel much safer.
Richard, you messed up.
Yes, the missed pickups were completely unacceptable,
And,
but
hey,
Darren...
it's nothing personal. Okay? I'd be terminating this contract no matter who you were. I'm sorry, but LockTech will be taking its business elsewhere. Thank you.
You leaving? I'm sorry.
It's all right. I just startle easily. So, what do you think of the potluck?
I'm absolutely stuffed.
The trick is elastic waistbands.
I'll have to remember that.
See you, Robin.
Marianne, I really appreciate you guys covering the potluck for us.
I'm just happy you could come.
But all I brought was a box of donuts.
I don't think there was any shortage on food. Steven! Let's go! Steven! They obviously aren't feeling as bloated as we are. If I had as much energy as that kid.
Stephen and Daniel seem to be hitting it off.
Yeah, they're getting close. Steven, come on! Does Daniel see many of the kids from your old neighborhood?
No. They stopped talking to us when Daniel's father left. Every flock needs its black sheep, I guess.
You drink coffee, Robin?
That'd be great.
What's this week look like for you?
I've been picking up some extra shifts, but I don't work Tuesday mornings.
Perfect.
Are you sure?
Of course, I'll pick you up around 9.
I know you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with my case? And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, but if you just Hear me out. I just read this story right before I came in here, which was obviously a mistake. It was about the Syrah grape. According to this magazine, it started in Persia and was brought to France by a crusader. He'd signed up for some kind of patrol or something, where he would tend to the wounded after every battle, like a medic. He was Catholic, so he thought it might be a good way of reducing his purgatory sentence. Anyways, day after day, he'd wade through the bodies, listening for the cries of dying men, and help them. But one day, he was distracted by something on the horizon. It was a grapevine. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a Syrah grape, but they are red, like vibrant, like nothing you've ever seen before. You leave the skin on grapes when you make red wine. That's what gives it the color. So seeing these grapes, this crusader knew they'd make him rich and couldn't pass it up. In his head, in some convoluted way, it was a sign God had blessed him for his service, that he'd been forgiven. So he dug up the vines, snuck onto the next ship for France, and left the wounded to slowly die, alone, in the mud.
Plates, napkins, dessert spoon. Oh, she's going to be here any minute, Rich.
Where are the kids?
They're next door at the Coops. Robin's dropping Daniel off there, too.
How late is she staying?
She isn't even here yet, Richard.
I have a lot going on at work right now, and I don't really feel like socializing.
She's a single mom with a 6-year-old, Richard. She probably doesn't get a lot of time to socialize.
Then I know exactly how she feels.
I'm sure Mrs. Coop would be happy to have you babysit. Oh, you found it. I just... Great. Was the drive okay?
Hey, Robin.
Hello, this is for you.
Wine?
Is that okay?
Absolutely. It's just with our church friends. It's great. Thank you. Oh, Syrah.
You have a beautiful home, Richard.
Well, I'd be lying if I said it always looked like this.
Wow, the food smells wonderful, Marianne.
I hope it's all right. I think it might be a little well done.
A 98.
It's supposed to be a good year for the French grapes. But if you don't like red...
No, Marianne, Robin brought us wine, and it's French.
I didn't know if...
It's wonderful, Robin. Thank you.
Robin, I'm no expert, but that's got to be an expensive bottle of wine.
I've been holding on to that one for a special occasion.
Thank you. We're honored.
Richard, since you all of a sudden have so much to be thankful for, why don't you say grace?
Sure. Thank you for this meal and for the hands that have prepared it. And thank you for new friends to share it with. Amen.
Amen.
So, how long have you lived on Eastbrook?
Oh, about 6 months.
Ooh, 6 months too long, eh?
It's all right.
Richard used to live on Eastbrook.
Really? On Eastbrook?
Yeah, I grew up around the corner from you. I used to deliver papers to your building.
Really?
Oh, there used to be a Miss Brown who'd bring me out a glass of milk every Saturday. She'd be about 110 by now. Oh, they used to have this horrible paisley wallpaper in the foyer.
They have horrible paisley wallpaper in the foyer.
You're kidding.
Well, it probably looks a bit different now, maybe a few more cigarette stains. We really aren't home much, so it's okay.
Hey, did I tell you they found asbestos at Fairhaven?
What?
Guess not.
When?
Over the summer.
What's Fairhaven?
The kids' private school.
They didn't tell you?
Inadvertently. We oversee their waste removal.
That's terrible.
At least they paid us to dispose of it properly. Most just throw it in some ditch someplace. You can tell a lot about a business by how they deal with their trash.
Is the school safe?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's fine now. It better be for what we're paying.
Richard, the school is extremely safe, and that's really important to us. So, what school is Daniel attending?
Norton Elementary.
Get out. I can't believe that place is still standing.
Why?
I went there till grade 5.
Really?
Yeah, man, I'd love to see that place again.
Would you actually?
What?
The school. Would you want to see it?
Ooh, that would take me back.
Well, next week I'm supposed to go into Daniel's class. The students each have to interview someone, but I can't get out of work.
And you want me to go?
It would only be for an hour or so.
What do you have to talk about?
I don't know, introduce yourself, talk about your job.
Waste removal?
Oh, what about Daniel's father?
Daniel hasn't seen his father in 4 years.
Oh, Robin. I'm sorry, I didn't...
No, it's all right. I shouldn't have asked. I'm sure I can figure something out. Can you pass the pepper?
Hello, everyone. Hey, Daniel. My name's Richard. I'm Daniel's friend from church. His mother couldn't come in today, so I'm going to talk to you about what I do for work, which is find a place for people's garbage. Come on. It's not so bad. I don't actually pick it up myself. I don't have to smell it. But I used to. But now I have other people do that. I've never really had to explain it. I find businesses, stores, factories, that sort of thing, who have a lot of stuff they throw away. Stuff they don't have any use for anymore. And I make it disappear. Like a magician. Poof! Oh, jeez. I'm so sorry. I thought I turned it off. Yeah. It's all very funny. It's a good thing to get calls. It means you're busy. Let me just turn this. Oh, it's Darren. This is I'm just going to turn it off. So, does anyone have any questions? Daniel?
Hi, Daniel. What have you got there?
A bunny rabbit.
How's Daniel?
Just needed a diaper change.
Phil,
What?
you were just talking about diapers. I'll go put him to bed.
He's already sleeping.
Already?
Hey, never underestimate Billy the Bouncing Bunny.
I had to read it 4 times last night.
Read it, I have it memorized. Billy the Bouncing Bunny went hopping over the hill. Billy the Bouncing Bunny went tiptoeing through the trail. Billy the Bouncing Bunny...
Phil, stop.
He's almost 2. Things will get better soon. What do they say? Terrific 2s, right?
Do you remember what our Friday nights used to be like?
Was there dancing? And fine wine?
The Syrah? But Phil, we've been saving that.
Well,
Well, what?
I got some good news today at work. They made me partner.
Phil, are you serious? That's amazing. What are you waiting for? Get this thing open.
Yes, ma'am.
No, not now.
It's okay, I got it. That's the good thing about fine wine, Robin. It doesn't go bad. It gets better.
I have been going back and forth with him for too long on this. Yes, but we can't afford to lose the Lock Tech contract. I need to know, bottom line, what we can offer Darren. Go, Steve! Yeah? Okay, will that still leave us in the black? Good kick, bud! Next time! Yeah. Okay? Okay, that's great news. I'll give him a call after the game. Robin? Oh, just a moment. Yeah, I'll talk to Darren. I gotta go. Robin, hey!
Richard, what are you doing here?
Steven's soccer team's playing. He's, there he is. So, what are you doing here?
Daniel's aftercare program meets at the playground.
You're just picking him up now?
I've been working some evenings lately.
Evenings, too.
Yep.
Hey, you should just bring him to our place.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm beat.
Are you working every evening now? Robin, what's wrong?
I'm sorry. I should go get Daniel.
He'll be okay for a couple more minutes. What's going on?
It's Daniel's father. My husband, he's up for parole.
Parole? What are you talking about?
He's been serving a 6-year sentence at Westcliff.
The penitentiary?
He just reached eligibility.
Well, what's that mean?
He was brought before the parole board last week. He's getting released. He'll be serving the last third of his sentence from home.
Robin, we had no idea.
I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner, but I just didn't want to ruin anything.
Robin,
It's taken us so long to get back on our feet, and now...
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. Come here. Come here. What can we do to help?
You've already done it.
The reason I'm telling you this is because the story has a moral. One which, at the moment, seems fitting. See, things don't always turn out as one might have expected, obviously. The Syrah grape, out of the bloodshed of a holy war, became a best-selling wine. People came from all over demanding barrels of Syrah. He had to plant his entire vineyard with it just to meet demands. But the Crusader was miserable. He refused to drink the wine. In fact, he never even tasted it. They say he had his farmhands do all the sampling. See, he believed the wine was cursed. The very thing that had drawn him to the grape eventually began to haunt him. It was the color, that dark crimson red. He convinced himself that his grapes had somehow absorbed the blood of the soldiers he'd neglected, the wounded he'd deserted to die, the forgotten. He thought that the grapes were a sign of God's favor. A crusader grows successful beyond his wildest dreams. But at what cost?
Hello? Richard? Richard! God, you scared me. When'd you get home?
A few minutes ago.
Didn't the game end at 7:30?
Yeah. I saw Robin at the soccer field.
Oh, how is she? How is she, Rich?
Daniel was there too.
Oh, great. Who won?
Marianne,
What's up?
Robin's husband is in prison.
What?
That's why Daniel hasn't seen him.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
She never even told me. Why didn't she tell me?
I don't know.
What did he do?
I don't know, but he's getting out soon.
She didn't tell you what he did?
No, she didn't say much of anything.
And you didn't ask?
What was I supposed to say?
But he's coming home.
Yeah, she seemed pretty upset about it.
Does Daniel know?
I don't know if Daniel would even remember him.
How long has he been in there?
She said it was a 6-year sentence.
6
but I don't think
years?
he's serving the whole thing.
Where's he gonna stay? They aren't still together, are they?
I don't know. You don't think he'd move back in with them, do you?
No. She wouldn't do that to Daniel, would she? Oh my...
Are you all right, Marianne?
Should we let her stay here for a while?
No, I don't think we need to do that.
I can't imagine how she must feel. What do we do?
I don't know.
You don't think... You don't think it could have been him?
What?
The The break-in.
Here? Marianne.
Well, we don't know.
The break-in was 2 years ago.
But-
he would have been in prison. Are you okay, Marianne?
Yeah, it's just strange.
Marianne, breathe.
Oh, that poor woman.
It'll be okay, Marianne. We'll figure this out.
Richard, Darren here. I got your message, all 3 of them, and yes, stuff happens. I know that. I mean, I can't guarantee anything in my line of work. You could have the best security system in the world and you still might get broken into. At the end of the day, all I sell is peace of mind, and I'm okay with that. I chose you for the same reason, and you failed to deliver. But the price you're offering is a good start, so the board has decided to give you another shot on my recommendation. Don't make me regret it.
Look,
What?
you think that's him?
Who?
Over there. Don't move so quickly.
Marianne.
Robin's standing at the back.
Okay.
She's talking with Pastor Martins, and there's someone with her. I bet that's him.
You think?
Are they together?
I don't know. I guess it might be for Daniel.
Do you think she knew
What do you mean?
about the crime? What if she knew all along?
Marianne. Did you picture him looking like that?
No. You should go introduce us.
What am I supposed to say?
They're looking at us.
No, they aren't. Are you all right? Marianne.
I'm fine. Actually, I don't know. It's just weird to put a face to him.
Marianne, are you okay? Are you having another panic?
No, I think I need to get some fresh air. It's really hot in here.
Okay.
But, Robin, I wanted to invite her to dinner next Saturday.
We'll just give her a call. Why don't you go wait in the van?
The kids.
I'll get the kids, okay?
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Is Robin there?
She just hopped in the shower. Can I take a message?
Yeah. Can you tell her Marianne called?
Yeah, sure. Marianne. This is Phil, Robin's husband.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Phil. We meant to introduce ourselves, Richard and I, after church on Sunday, but, well, I wasn't feeling very well. I think I might be coming down with something.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thanks. Well,
Hey,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's... Robin talks about you folks all the time. She mentioned how good you guys have been to her, over the last little while. And, I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, you don't need
No,
to...
please. I'm really glad to hear that she and Daniel have found a community. It's taken them a little while.
It's been our pleasure.
So, what did you want me to pass on to Robin?
Oh, we've been having her over for dinner.
Yeah, she mentioned that.
Oh, well,
I hear that you're quite the cook. I was hoping that Robin might pick up a thing or two from you. I'm certainly not one to talk. I mean...
well, we'd be happy to have you over.
Oh. Thanks. I'm not sure of Robin's work schedule, but I'm sure that we could figure something out.
Good.
Saturday might work.
Saturday.
So would that suit you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, looking forward to it.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Hello? Is someone there? Richard?
No, it's Pastor Martin.
Pastor Martins.
Yeah, is Richard around?
No, Richard isn't home yet. I thought he was at the church council meeting with you.
He was. I'm just following up. Is everything all right?
No, I think I'm having another... I don't know, I heard something.
Marianne, is something happening?
No, I'm fine. I thought I was over this. I'm sorry.
Hello, Marianne. Have a seat. I'm gonna leave the door open so everyone can feel comfortable. Is that all right?
Sure.
So, how are you doing?
I'm okay.
Richard told me about the break-in last week. How are you holding up?
Fine, I guess.
That must have been very troubling. I hear he was arrested.
Yeah,
Does that bring you any closure?
I guess.
We don't have to talk about this if you're not ready.
No, it's fine. I want to.
Okay. How does it work with this trial? Will you testify?
No.
Will you go to the trial?
It wouldn't change anything. It was a crime against the crown, not me.
You don't think it would help you process things?
Was that...
I'm sorry?
I was home alone, Pastor Martins. I can't sleep. I keep checking on the kids. The insurance company certainly isn't helping.
Well, your sense of privacy was violated, Marianne. That's bound to leave an emotional scar. Are you sure you want to talk about it? Because we could...
I don't know. Richard had taken the kids out for a walk. Stephen was probably crying. He hates being stuck in that stroller. I was at the sink. I was watching them leave out the window. I could see myself in the reflection. And then I heard something. I couldn't tell what it was. But suddenly something just felt wrong. He had come in through the back door. He must have walked through the garden because there were muddy footprints everywhere. I didn't say anything, Pastor Martins. If I had called out or something, I was so scared. If I had said something, he might have run off. I wouldn't have had to see him. I walked out of the kitchen and he was standing right there in the hallway. I gasped. I think I surprised him. But then he stepped towards me. I froze. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought he was going to... Well, I didn't know what he might do.
Did he hurt you, Marianne?
No, that's the thing. He didn't even take anything. At least, not that I can tell. I've been checking everywhere, though.
Oh, it's a miracle Richard came home in time.
He forgot his phone.
Well, I'm thankful nothing happened to you.
That's just it. Something did happen to me. There was a man in my house, in my home. The place where my children sleep. The place where I'm supposed to feel safe. I don't recognize it now.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
No, it's just... He got arrested because a rule was broken. But I'm still going to lie awake every night and see his face. What justice is there for me?
Have you been feeling anxious, Marianne?
Constantly.
Like a tightness in the chest?
I don't know. I've been getting short of breath a lot.
Would you see a psychiatrist?
Drugs?
It sounds like it might be anxiety.
I came face to face with a criminal, Pastor Martins.
And it's totally up to you. I mean, obviously I can't prescribe you anything, but maybe medication could help with
I don't know. I'll think about it.
Hello? Marianne, what happened? Tell me what's wrong.
Phil.
What? Was he here?
No. I'm losing it, Richard. The furnace turned on, or I don't know. I had another... What is wrong with me?
Have you been taking your meds?
Yes, that's not it. It's him. It's the idea of him being around.
You're safe, Marianne. We have an alarm now. You don't have to worry about that.
No, I'm scared for Robin.
You don't have to worry about Robin.
Sure I do. She's my friend. I invited them over for dinner.
Robin and Daniel?
No. Phil. Is that okay?
I don't know.
She's our friend, Richard. She has no one else to turn to right now. Phil especially.
No, he's not coming over.
Why not?
Because I just came home to you shaking and crying on the floor.
It's not their fault. Look at me, Richard. I'm still processing the break-in 2 years later. Think about what Robin must be going through.
You've already done so much, Marianne. You welcomed her into our home. The church has supported her. You've given her a community. But it's different now.
What do you mean?
The situation has changed. I mean, what if Daniel wants to have Stephen over to their house?
So?
I can't allow that.
Richard?
He's a convicted criminal, Marianne. What kind of a father would I be if I entrusted my son to the supervision of a felon?
Daniel doesn't have any other friends, Richard. They were completely ostracized. We can't do that to them again. What?
Nothing.
What's wrong? What's wrong, Rich?
I was just at a church council meeting.
So?
It was just decided that because of our insurance coverage, mostly because we don't know what he did.
What are you saying?
We have to ask Phil to stop attending the church.
What?
We need to look out for the safety of our congregation, Marianne.
You're kidding.
We just aren't in a place to help him.
The church isn't in the place to help. So what, am I going to have to cut a hole in the roof and lower him down myself?
We can't take the risk. It's a liability.
It's a community, Richard. You're talking about it like it's your business. This isn't waste management. These are people.
If I wouldn't have him around my family, I can't very well introduce him to everyone else's. I have to look out for our community, Marianne. That's my job.
Your job. Was this your decision?
No, it was everyone's decision. What was I supposed to say? I mean, think of Sunday school, the kids.
What about Daniel?
This doesn't involve Daniel.
Oh, so you're going to explain to him why his daddy isn't allowed at church anymore? Or were you just going to leave that to Robin? I'm sure she's getting used to those kinds of conversations.
You think I want this?
I don't know what to think, Richard. We can talk about it with them on Saturday. If you don't want to be there, that's fine, but I'm inviting them over.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Why is it that everyone is so bound and determined to keep everything sterile? I don't want sterile. I want to get my hands dirty because that's what Robin needs. That's what I needed.
Marianne, please. I understand that you're upset. I understand that this is all probably hitting a lot closer to home for you because of the break-in, but the decision's been made. We'll be talking to him on Sunday after service.
The communion service.
Yes.
The Last Supper, how fitting. I'm going to bed.
Marianne! I guess I'll clean up this mess.
I thought that's what you just did.
Mom, are you recording?
What are you doing?
I'm playing with a stick.
I don't necessarily think the story's true, but at least for someone who likes wine, it'll make for better dinner conversation. The Crusader wouldn't drink the Syrah because he tasted regret, selfishness. It reminded him of the people he'd abandoned. That's all pretty familiar for me now. I know you want to hear about my regrets, about remorse for my actions and for the crime I committed, but to be perfectly honest, prison isn't the safest place to feel vulnerable. At the moment, I can only think about the fact that if I get parole, I'm finally have to face my family, my son. He's 6 now. It's hard to believe. Robin, my wife, who hasn't visited me, He probably doesn't want to see me. See, I'd tricked myself into thinking that once I got out, I would have paid my debts. But I now realize that outside, things are different. People are still hurt, and I have no idea how to make it up to them. Over the last couple of nights leading up to today, I started having this dream. I'm behind this, it's like a two-way mirror or something, but I can see Daniel, my boy. He's playing, and I realize I'm smiling, that I'm happy. But then something changes. I start to feel sick, like in my stomach, and I don't know what it is at first, but then I see it. He starts aging, like growing up, but right in front of me. I start pounding on the glass or the mirror, or whatever it is, yelling, just trying to stop it, but he can't hear me. And when he turns around, he's old. And he's got these confused, lifeless eyes just staring at me. And that's when I realized that the mirror is gone. He looks at me. He doesn't blink. He doesn't even change his expression. He just says, no, he asks, "Daddy?" Because he doesn't recognize me. And I wake up.
Richard. Does anyone else care for more wine?
I'll get some.
Marianne, we really appreciate you having us over.
It's really nice to have a home-cooked meal.
Oh, you mean because when you were in prison?
Oh, no. We just don't really cook at home very often.
Oh, of course.
I wouldn't have thought it was possible with everything that Robin said, but this meal has actually surpassed my expectations.
You're very kind.
And now I'm really looking forward to the church potlucks.
Well, that's what we're famous for.
Apparently your empanadas.
I can't find any more white, Marianne. Red will have to do. Robin actually gave us this back in the fall.
Phil, I brought it as a gift. I didn't have anything else to bring.
Is something wrong?
It's fine.
I'm sorry,
Just
Phil.
drop it. It's fine.
I just didn't have anything else. It doesn't mean anything.
Robin, please.
Did I do something wrong?
It's the wine.
If you don't like Syrah,
Syrah's great, Richard. One of my favorites, actually. Please, it's nothing.
Okay.
It's my fault.
Robin.
We were saving that for a special occasion.
Oh, please, take it back then. We wouldn't...
You don't need to do
We
that.
couldn't possibly keep it.
I'll see if there's anything else.
Maybe we should go.
Please stop! That was a gift. Syrah ages well, so we were waiting to drink it together. Obviously, whatever you guys were sharing with Robin, she felt it was worth celebrating.
Oh, Phil, I'm sorry.
We didn't know.
Honestly, it's fine. I'm just happy she had something to celebrate. There hasn't been much of that lately. Excuse me.
Phil. I'm sorry, Marianne.
Shh. There is no need to apologize.
It's just so difficult. There's so much we have to adjust to.
We're here, Robin. For both of you.
Thank you. Thank you both so much.
As we come to the communion table today to take this wine, we remind ourselves that this is not our table, but the table of God, who invites us to a feast prepared for all people. We think of our friends in Uganda, from all over the world, for God's table offers us unity in our diversity. People from all highways and byways are welcome to come to this meal, to find life, forgiveness, and to be sustained for the journey ahead. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Hello folks, thanks so much for being here tonight. My name is Kimberly Walker. I'm the Education and Outreach Manager for Theatre The Beat, and it's my pleasure to be hosting tonight's panel with our esteemed guests. I'll let these folks introduce themselves in a minute. We'll all just share a little bit about ourselves and our intersection with this topic of the play of restorative justice and reintegration. So I'll start by introducing myself. I was part of the original touring production of Forgiven Forgotten several years ago, and I played Robin. And one of the really neat things about touring that play was we would be one night in a church, the next day in a school, the next day in a community center, and then the next day in a prison. And we were in also all those kinds of places all the way across Canada, and we're able to have talkbacks after every show where wherever we are, we were wrestling with the questions of like, how do we do this better? Or like, what do you need to feel safe? This is what the people last night said that they needed to feel safe. Like, what about this community, whoever we were talking to? And I became really passionate about the idea of restorative justice and about the well-being of people who are incarcerated and about safer communities for everybody. And so ended up involved, coming back to Kitchener where I live, and fairly involved at Grand Valley Institution for Women next door in some volunteer capacities, and worked there for a bit. And then my favorite way of being involved has been as like facilitating a theater program for the last couple years. So anyways, that's my connection to this topic. And I'm excited that you're all here and interested in the topic as well. And I'll let our panelists introduce themselves and share a bit about their journey.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse Belanger, and I have lived experience of incarceration. I was incarcerated for 3 years. I went to the penitentiary for selling drugs. And if you would have asked me if I ever thought I would end up there, the answer would have been no. While I was incarcerated, I had a lot of time to self-reflect. And what it really self-reflected was the internal prison that I'd been living in. On the outside, it looked as though I was serving a 3-year sentence. However, on the inside, it felt like I'd given myself a life sentence of solitary confinement by my own walls that I had built. And when it talks about restorative justice, even as an offender or prisoner, I'm huge on restorative justice. I think even as someone who's done harm and committed a crime, I think for myself being a very shame-based person, I think like repairing and sitting down with people, like if they're willing and if they feel safe and respectful enough to do that, for me, I think that's important because in order to have those relationships, I also have to get right with myself. And I've been a long-time admirer of CJI and Stride. They've supported me throughout my entire incarceration. And not that long ago, I was actually working for CJI. They actually had a role opened up as the Fresh Start Launch Service Coordinator. So I was actually I worked a lot with people coming out of GVI. So I was able to help people reintegrate back into the community. And that's something that I love doing. And I believe that, it's kind of my experience that has led me to that kind of passion. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jesse. Could you tell us, is Fresh Start, do they sell cards? Am I remembering that right? Or what does Fresh Start Creations do?
Yes, so it was cards. So the cards were made in the prison and by the volunteers and the people inside. And then they would write messages and stuff in them. They would actually sell them out into the community. And then once there was enough money accumulated, they would actually, the people inside GVI would get to choose who they wanted to donate that to. So I know one time they had sent, I think, $500 to One Roof, and then another time they had done another $500 donation to the Anselma House.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Good work. So next up, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, thanks.
Hi, I'm Lori Shantz, and I'm a volunteer with the Stride program that Jesse mentioned, and was part of Jesse's circle when he came out of prison.
And I'm Teresa Meyer. I worked at Community Justice Initiatives. I started in 2017 in the Stride program. And then when I moved to the Restorative Schools program, I stayed on with Stride as a volunteer because I liked it so much. And now I'm back working in the Stride program, at least part of my time. A brief description of Stride, just broad strokes. We take the main program that we run over at Grand Valley, we take about 20 volunteers inside the walls of the prison on a Tuesday night. And we do a gamer activity that's kind of besides the point. What we're really trying to do is create room for people to get to know each other, for the volunteers to get to know the people who live there, and vice versa. So when relationships form, which they do, they can travel outside the walls of the prison with the person as they re-enter the community. So that's been going on at Grand Valley for about 20 years, a little bit over 20 years. And we've also had the opportunity over the years to do lots of little pilot projects as funding would allow. So we've worked in some halfway houses, treatment centers. We had a very exciting project over at Maplehurst for a little bit. And there's more bubbling up, right? So the interest is kind of growing in finding ways to bring people into proximity with each other who wouldn't normally have a chance to meet.
Thanks, folks. So I do have a question for Jesse. I was wondering, like, after watching the performance, how true to life is it, or how similar or dissimilar would parts of the play be to your experience or to other people that you know of who experienced incarceration?
Yeah, so I could relate to a lot in the film, especially Phil, of course, because he was incarcerated. And, right at the very beginning with the tick marks, it's like he was kind of like checking off the days, just counting the days down. And I could relate to that too, and I know a lot of people can. I know for me, being in prison, I felt so just powerless, right? Of just over like everything, what's going on outside in the world and even in the prison itself. And for me, it's like feeling so powerless, I realized that I would try to exert control over my life in all these different ways, right? So whether it was like filling up my day with things that I was gonna do in prison or checking days off a calendar, like that's what I had realized about myself. I actually, like when I watched the film, I felt guilty, right? Because I actually got to see more about how the family is impacted, and just how Robin was a single parent just trying to provide for her son, picking him up late because she was working and stuff like that, and working like all the time, and just how, it's almost like she felt embarrassed to say that he was in prison, even though she needed the help. So I kind of felt a little guilty around that. And even for Phil, just getting out and knowing that, you're going to see your family, as exciting as that is, it's also very overwhelming, because now you're on parole, you've got all these conditions. You often wonder, have people forgotten about me? Like he was saying about the two-way mirror and envisioning his son just growing up and not recognizing them. I'd wondered that about a lot of people throughout my life. So yeah, I really enjoyed the film, and I could relate to a lot of it.
Thanks. And I know you were a volunteer, Lori, so maybe it's different because there's no volunteers in the film, but was there anything that stuck out to you in terms of like, oh, that's true, or it's actually not quite like that?
I'm not sure if I thought whether or not it's like that, but the person I most sort of could imagine being was Marianne. I grew up in a church and continue to attend church. And so Christian values I'm steeped in, and forgiveness is part of that, reconciliation. So Marianne had been traumatized by a crime, and yet was open to seeing that there was a person in Phil, and also had a sense of community, I think, that resonates for me. That she wasn't just going to dump her friend Robin and the little boy who was a friend of her son because she was nervous about Phil and what that might mean. And so that really resonated for me. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And Teresa, working as a restorative justice professional, I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, so obviously this is just one story, right? And so, some people come out and they don't come out to a family who's waiting for them. They don't come out to a relationship with a child anymore. Sometimes that's been totally alienated. But some people do come out to family, and what I can kind of say is that each thing presents its own very special challenges, and more than anything, what I liked is the depiction of things as kind of messy. It's people don't always feel the way they think they're going to feel in situations that they look forward to, or I like when you said coming out is something you really look forward to, but it can be really overwhelming too. So all of those kind of depictions of, Marianne is really, like, the idea of Phil is causing her a great deal of anxiety. And at the same time, she's also feeling like she doesn't like the idea of control being taken out of her hands around her relationship with Robin. Like, there's just so much that's conflicting, and I see that a lot, both for like people who have been impacted by crime, victims of crime, and also for the people who've caused it. Right? There's a lot that goes on there.
Right, it's more complicated than any of us might imagine from the outside to be in either victim or offender role, and sometimes it's both.
Right.
It sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention you mentioned forgiveness, I think, and the play title, Forgive and Forgotten. We want to make it clear we're not saying, forgive and forget, like as if it's like no big deal. Like the hyphen is there intentionally, and we're kind of wrestling with like, what does forgiveness mean, if it's even appropriate, and then who is forgotten, and what, like, kind of on both sides of the equation. And then anyways, now that I've started talking about forgiveness, I remember a restorative justice professional saying that he saw it as the other F word, like he would treat it the same way, like he wouldn't say it unless the people involved said it, and that it can be part of restorative justice if that's important in the person's worldview, but restorative justice can also exist totally separate from that idea. So I just wanted to mention that as well. But my next question was going to be for you, Jesse. I'm curious, like, how important is community support when someone's coming out of prison? Like, both in terms of personal relationships or like the broader community. In the play, it was complicated, and we saw that Phil didn't have everybody's support, but he did have some. I'm curious, like, what your experience was like, if you think, like, what the average person coming out of prison, what that's like for them, and what the impact is.
So I know that just community and supports is huge for people getting out of prison. Like, I know for myself, when I think of just being incarcerated, or just reintegration, like reintegration is one thing to get out, it's like a physical reintegration, but I also think of mental, emotional, spiritual reintegration as well. And I think of, being in prison, it often reminds me of like Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, where I think of the basic physiological, like the survival needs, which is like food, shelter, clothing, sleep, which prison does provide. But then everything else, the safety needs, the love and belonging, the self-esteem, the self-actualization, all of that stuff goes unmet in prison. So when I think of that, and I think of reintegrating, and I also want to add that, most people don't even feel integrated into society before they went to prison. So now having to reintegrate again is like it's very challenging. For me, I was born and raised in Timmins, and that's where I sold drugs and whatnot. And I knew for me, it's like I didn't want to go back to that lifestyle. Like, I wanted to get clean and sober. I wanted to help people. And so for me, I decided to move here. So I'm grateful that I was able to meet Lori and other volunteers. I was grateful that I had a stride circle and stuff. And even with support, it's difficult even. Like, I was even deemed a success story by the warden in the penitentiary. And like, even when I got out, I struggled. Like, they wanted to send me, the prison wanted to send me to a shelter because I didn't have, and it's like, the housing, the job, I don't have a job, I have a record, I know most people say that when they get out, we feel like we have this label on our forehead that says just gets out of prison, and I feel like that too, and I find even just thinking that, it kind of keeps me isolated, right? I know when I first got out, it's just a conversation, a lot of people are like, why did you move to Kitchener? And you know what I mean? And like, when I first met people I didn't know, I didn't necessarily want to say that I'd just gotten out of the penitentiary. Like so like conversations and stuff could be a bit uncomfortable as well. And like, just by people asking that, you feel like they know, but it's like, no, it's just a question that you ask. And I know for me, it was important for me to feel welcomed and just accepted and a sense of belonging, right? Because if I'm going to be a productive member of society and contribute, like, I need help. Before I went to prison, all I knew was unhealthy relationships. But I didn't know that they were unhealthy, because to me, that's all I knew. And I didn't know that until I actually had healthy relationships. And even when I did have those good relationships, I had such low self-esteem that I didn't feel worthy to have people that cared about me and stuff like that. So I know most people, when they get out, a lot of people that I talk to feel lost I feel like they don't fit in. A lot of people say they feel more accepted in prison. And for me, I'm grateful. Prison really made me realize how the system, just how much harm the system itself can do. And I think that's what's really gotten my passion for this kind of stuff. I was actually asked to be a volunteer in someone else's Stride Circle. So it's been like, so many things have been so restorative for me. And, you know, I often think of myself who I had done really well while I was in prison, but that doesn't mean to say that prisons are good. It's just that I was a very resilient person and I was just able to like turn hardships into like opportunities, which can be very difficult. But for me, I knew that, you know, I wanted to sincerely change my life. And, you know, by staying here, I knew that I had that chance. And it's really interesting because it really made me realize that, you know, once you're criminalized, it feels like you're criminalized. I've tried to get into like speaking in prisons, and like, why wouldn't a prison want someone who was, you know, a model inmate, a success story? Why wouldn't they want you to go speak in a prison to share your story, right? And it just goes to show that, you know, once you're criminalized, it seems that you're always criminalized. Like there's always something that that's going to follow you.
Yeah, thanks for that perspective. Lori, my question for you was, I was curious, like, what drew you to volunteering? What's that experience been like? Anything that you want to share about that?
Okay. I've always hated prisons. I don't remember ever thinking that a prison was okay. And because I'd like to make the world a better place, what easier place to do that than a place you think is really bad? So that was one reason. And then added on to that, the G20 was here in 2010, and 2 of my children were arrested protesting and landed in jail. So I also experienced what it was like to go and visit in a prison as a family member, which feels very different than going in as a Stride volunteer. So yeah, I guess, I'm sort of a sunshine, and, you know, I'd like to make the world a better place. And it's so easy to do. You just go in and treat people like people with dignity and respect, hang out with them, and it makes a world of difference. It's easy.
And it sounds like enriching for your life as well.
It is. Like I was saying that actually to my husband today. We also were the panel last night. And I said, you know, I've just been thinking about so many things that were said, and it always comes back to me that you don't give without receiving. It just, in giving, something comes back to you. And that's really wonderful. I've gotten a lot from a deeper understanding of the woundedness, I think, of most people who are in prisons. I always recognized that people were disenfranchised, didn't feel a part of things, and then often commit crimes because of that. I think that's come home to me even more, meeting people in prisons. I would have never gone to an AA meeting if I hadn't met Jesse. Just, it's enriching. Yeah.
Thanks. Teresa, I was wondering for you, having seen the play and your experience with restorative stuff, like, would you mind giving us a quick little summary or explanation about what restorative justice even is? Because it's kind of a big topic, and there's lots of ways to answer that question, I'm sure, and I'm not sure how much the folks here know. So if you could fill us in, that'd be great.
Yeah, it is a really big question, but I'll kind of try and convey the basic idea. It's a different way of seeing crime. It's seeing it more as harm in our community. And so when harm has taken place in the community, who has been harmed, who has been impacted, what's happened, what do they need as the person who's been harmed, and then the person who's done the harm, what do they need in order to come to a place of accountability. And the community that surrounds that act is also implied. So it's not that it's an either-or situation. The person who causes the harm definitely has an accountability for that harm, but as a community, we also hold responsibility for creating the society that allows people to show up in their best selves. So it kind of expands the definitions of victim and offender, and it also seeks to see people as more than just those things, because those labels can have like unintended impacts for both the victim and the offender, like holding people in a place of just that moment in time. So that's part of the central idea of restorative justice as well. And then as you could see in the play, like that ripple effect, right? All the people who are impacted, it's not just Phil and whoever was on the other side of whatever Phil did. It's also his partner, his child, the church community they join. You know, you can see that ripple out. And so in our traditional justice system, you know, especially in Canada, like it becomes an issue of the Crown versus, right? So the victim is somewhat taken out of the equation, and that has a harm of its own, right? And then if the offender is convicted of the crime and goes to prison, then they are harmed again, right? So it's kind of like, what could we do differently in response to things that happen in our communities that could provide some space for healing to take place for everybody involved? It's kind of, and that can look very different. So it's not prescriptive.
Thanks. Yeah, that's really helpful. So I'm thinking maybe for a question we could all ponder together. Like, I don't know about you, but there were parts of the play where I was like, I wish you could do it a little bit better. And I'm wondering, like, does anyone have anything that they wish that the characters could have done differently? Or do you folks have any ideas for, like, I don't know, maybe an obvious one is like, maybe Phil could have had a stride circle, you know, but like how could we bring, like the play shows us why we need restorative justice, but it doesn't actually show us examples of it. So yeah, curious what folks have to say, anybody here really, about what we wish the characters could have done if there was a sequel or if they had a do-over. It looked like someone was going to say something there, but no. Okay. Don't mean to put you on the spot. You didn't know it was going to be a both ways kind of panel, so fair enough. One thing I was thinking about, well, that we chatted about, Teresa, was the idea that what's his name, Richard, he says he was on the committee that decided Phil couldn't come to church, and Teresa pointed out that he was kind of doing it maybe in a way for Marianne that never actually asked Marianne. And so, yeah, was your point, Teresa, like sometimes we guess what someone who's been victimized might want, but that might not be the case?
Yeah, I think, you know, through storytelling and media narrative, we have very simple ideas of how people ought to feel or definitely feel in certain situations. But as I said, it's pretty messy. And so you could see, like, Richard was very confused by Marianne's reaction.
Yeah.
Right? And I wonder what would have happened if he had talked to her about it before going to the church committee meeting. And, you know, there's the stated kind of, this is about insurance, and maybe it was. But that's an interesting comment if we don't know what Phil did. You know, so it's kind of, yeah, it just seems like people aren't having any conversations in any direction. In fact, probably the real meaningful conversation was the one that passed between Marianne and Phil, and it was just a dip of the toe in, right? Which, understandably, but yeah, I think I would wish for a deeper conversation between the characters.
Are there any kind of restorative approaches that would work for Marianne?
Well,
or I guess, who knows? We have to ask Marianne.
We'd have to ask Marianne, right? Some things I can share is that, we do victim offender dialogues where people get the opportunity to sit down with the person who has directly harmed them. That usually happens. It has to be driven by the victim, so the victim has to want that. And the person who's caused the harm, the offender, has to be in a position where that can be a good conversation. Sometimes that takes years of healing journeys and accountability journeys. It's not something that someone from the outside would decide is a good idea. But it can be really, so the ones that I've seen where people are in a position, it is pretty amazing what happens when victims have the opportunity to ask questions like, why did this happen? Why did you choose me? Like, why did you come into my house, for example, right? And sometimes the answers are helpful. Sometimes it's just the asking of the question that's helpful. And then other types of restorative conversations would be like the church committee inviting Marianne to come in and to talk openly about what she might need or how she's feeling about this, and invite Robin into that room, into that conversation. And again, that needs to be done with preparation, that needs to be facilitated so that you're not setting up, a harmful conversation. So these things are always done with a lot of thought and a lot of preparation. But there's lots of different opportunities for conversations to take place. And one other thing that we don't talk about too much is sometimes surrogacy happens in conversations. Sometimes people get healing by listening to someone else who's caused a similar type of harm, but is not the person who directly harmed them, because that's too risky for them. But just getting an understanding of it can sometimes help people. So there's just so many different kinds of options and ways that can show up.
Thanks. Anyone have any comments or questions before we wrap up? I think we might have another minute or two. Or if anyone on the panel has anything that you came to say and didn't get a chance to say, or you've got percolating that feels important.
I'll say something.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, if they would not have disclosed that he was in prison, it makes me wonder how they would have treated him. I often think back to my own life, and the minute that you hear someone's incarcerated, we immediately think the worst thing ever. And then it's like everything just kind of changes from there. And I often think of myself, part of my job at CJI was to find employers who would explore the idea of hiring criminalized people, right? And what I realized is that once most people know you have a record, they don't even know you. And right away you're dismissed. It's the stigma of the label. And I was thinking back, I was talking to someone about it, and it's like, well, how can we get employers? And then I was thinking of undercover boss, but undercover inmate, where someone goes into these places, works for 3 months, and I feel like that because where I work right now, they never ask for a record, but they don't know that I'm from the penitentiary. But I've been there for a year now, and I'm a very valued employee. I almost feel like, if they knew that I was from prison, that they would ask me if I had any more friends that were looking for jobs. I always feel like you need someone that's going to give you a chance, but it's hard to do that when we've got all these labels and everything. So, yeah.
That's the perfect one to end on. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming. Let's give these folks a hand.